Good morning. Today I just wanted to walk you guys through a morning in the camper with a baby and a toddler. My motivation for doing this video is that when we were first thinking about moving into the camper, I didn't see a lot of videos showcasing what I wanted to know. I moved in when this little guy was about a month old. I think it was a month and a half, and my toddler, it was 2.5. So he's almost 3 now. And so I just want to walk through how our morning routine goes living in a camper. I do want to mention that we don't have any running water in here. So that is a challenge that we have that you might not have. We also live right next to my mother-in-law's house. So while we do spend the majority of the morning in the camper, we spend the majority of the afternoon in the house. We sleep in here and cook breakfast in here. And then in the afternoon, we'll go into my mother-in-law's house and we'll cook lunch and dinner in her house. So that's why I'm just going to walk you through the morning. So first thing I want to mention, just with having a baby nursing, this couch is where I nurse my baby in the middle of the night. So one of the things that I miss the most about having a house is having a rocking chair. I really loved having a rocking chair with my first child, and it is definitely something I miss, especially in the middle of the night with this baby. But we're making it work. The whole point of us living in this camper is to save money. If we didn't live in this camper, I wouldn't be able to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to live in this camper and live right next to my mother-in-law. So we have her house. So I will try to talk about just like the pros and cons of living in a camper. But for now, being a stay-at-home mom kind of outweighs all of the cons. So when you're thinking about moving into a camper, I think you just have to weigh the pros and the cons and see what is most important to you. So first thing in the morning, I always do a little reset. Since the camper is so small, we have to turn it from my son's sleeping area into the kitchen. So one of the first things I do in the morning is always open up the windows, and the camper can just feel kind of closed off if we don't end up opening the windows. When we wake up, seeing that it's the middle of winter still, it is dark when we wake up, but I still like to open it all up. It'll start getting light in about an hour or so. If we were to buy a bigger camper, one of the things that we both wanted in a camper would be to have bigger windows. So when you're in a smaller space, just like having that natural light is so important to me. So we are lucky that we have 5 windows in this area. So I am grateful that we have the 5 windows, but it's still like they don't seem big enough for the most part. And then next most important thing is to get this crib out of the way because it does take up a lot of space. So that is something that we did splurge on when we moved in here. Without having this, it would be really hard to have the toddler and the baby both in the same space. So we do take that up and down every single day, and it's super easy to do, so it doesn't feel like a big deal. So with living right next to my mother-in-law, one of the challenges that we face is just having to go back and forth a lot. So like I'm super grateful to have her house because it's nice to have the bigger space in the afternoon for the kids to play, but that means there's a lot of back and forth. So like it is 6 o'clock in the morning, it's dark outside. I have to strap on the 2 kids and go inside. This little dude just started crawling, so that is going to be another challenge. But that would be a challenge whether we were in the house or not. So I'm just going to put the kids on here, and we are going to go inside and we'll grab our food for breakfast. And also, since we don't have running water in here, this is when we go in and go to the bathroom too. Anytime there's something that I really don't like about the camper living, I try to reframe it into a way that makes it easier to deal with. So for instance, coming out here in the morning used to be one of my least favorite things, having to pack on the kids and get them ready in the morning. Now I just reframe it to be like when we go outside to go to the camper in the middle of the night, it's awesome because we get to see the stars, and that's not something I used to stay up for. And in the morning, I've seen some of the most beautiful sunrises. So the sun is just starting to come up now, so it'll be a little while before we have a beautiful sunrise. But isn't that pretty, buddy? Do you think that's pretty? My homesteader friends will be excited about this. We raised 2 cows last couple of years, and we just got the meat yesterday. So super excited about that, having good quality meat. So while we were out of the camper and when the sun was coming up, I wanted to get our chores done. Right now our farm chores are pretty minimal. We just have the horse, the chickens, and the dogs to feed. Last summer we did have 2 cows that we took to the butcher, and that's why we have the meat. I like to get my kids involved with age-appropriate tasks. I don't really have any choice but to bring them along, but I like to show them that this doesn't necessarily have to be a chore. It can be something fun. And I think it's something my toddler really enjoys doing, so I let him help where he can. With feeding the horse, he'll dump the grain in. His favorite job by far is checking the eggs. With it being winter right now, the chickens haven't really started laying eggs again, so he's not super excited about that right now, but I think once they start laying, he'll want to start checking the chickens like 5 or 6 times a day like he was. The best way I've found to do chores with the baby is just to strap him on my back and have him come along. When somebody's home, I can always leave the baby with somebody else, but when it's just me in the morning, I always bring him along. I don't really have a choice. Otherwise, I would have to do it during nap time, and nap time is kind of important time for me to just relax and unwind. All right, so we are back in the camper now, and we are going to make some breakfast. So I just set the kids up with some toys to play with while I get that started. All right, so making breakfast is just like you would make breakfast in a house. And honestly, I've never had a gas stove, and I love having a gas stove. So 0.1 for camper living. Right now we're just doing hamburger patties for breakfast. One of my biggest insecurities about moving into the camper was thinking that people would think that I was a bad mom. And I'm typically pretty confident in my momming abilities, so this wasn't something that was normal for me, especially since we moved in when my second son was only a month old. I just felt like people would think that wasn't a suitable place for a newborn. And I've really found that to be quite the opposite. There's never been a time where I felt like my kids weren't safe or secure because we were living in the camper. In fact, I kind of love how the camper forces us all to be closer together. My toddler now sleeps with us, and the baby is just right across the way. So it's nice not to have to use video monitors or anything to watch the kids while they're sleeping because they're right next to me. While it definitely brings its own challenges, I just feel a lot safer and less anxious when the kids are sleeping right next to me. And as far as it being a suitable place for my toddler, he loves it and obviously has plenty of room to still play. I gotta say, whether we're in my mother-in-law's huge house or we're in the camper, he's always right underneath my feet with his toys anyways, so it doesn't really make a difference. But that's just my perspective having a toddler. Your toddler might be different. Now it's time to get these toys cleaned up and get the camper switched over for breakfast time. My baby just started eating solids more, so we brought out his high chair, and luckily we already had one that folds up super easily, so this has been super nice to have with the camper because we just fold it up and put it under the table when it's not in use. I really do feel like camper living with a baby is pretty much just the same as living in a house with a baby. You just have to get a little bit creative with some of the solutions that you have, like this high chair or our crib. And sometimes that means buying a more expensive piece of baby furniture, but we found we were able to afford it with the money that we were saving living in the camper. So all that to say, if you have a baby or a toddler or a family and you're looking to move into a camper for purposes of saving money to either buy a house or just prices have gotten insane, well, I say just give it a shot, and you kind of just have to have the mindset that you'll be happy wherever you are. And if you have that mindset, I think it is just fine. Not to say that some days aren't hard, and we definitely look forward to moving into a house, but this is just part of the journey. And I think someday when we have our own house, it's going to be that much sweeter. On the day of filming this, it is a Monday, and Mondays I like to do a little reset because we're not in the camper much throughout the weekend, so it just seems to get messy really quickly during the times that we are in the camper. If you're someone that likes to have a neat and tidy house, well then this is definitely for you because it takes like 5 minutes to get the house back together, which is super awesome. But the opposite is also true. We go on one grocery shopping trip and it feels like we have to reorganize the whole house to accommodate that grocery shopping trip. I've always been interested in a more minimalistic lifestyle, and while I wouldn't consider myself a minimalist yet, the camper definitely does make you decide what is truly important to you. Well, I think that's all I have to say on the matter. I hope that someone finds this video helpful, and if you have any questions and you're looking into camper living with a baby and a toddler, then definitely let me know because I know I had a lot of hesitation. So if there's any way that I can help you out, let me know in the comments. If you guys watched this far, thank you for watching. If you like content like this, please subscribe and like this video. I would really appreciate it. This little guy is ready for a nap, so I'm just going to give him his nap time, and my toddler will have his quiet time, and I will have my work. and I will have my working time now. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.